a non-enthusiast, that might sound like a little class superbike passing by. But in reality, that is a 250cc fire-breathing monster tearing up those streets. And if you don't believe me, I don't blame you. Because in a time when a 250cc motorcycle sounds more or less like a hairdryer, you might wonder how come that machine sounds so good. So in order to answer your question, let me show you 4 of the best sounding 250cc motorcycles ever made. Number 1. Kawasaki Ninja ZXR 250. The Ninja ZXR 250 was produced by Kawasaki from 1988 to 1999. During the 11 years of production, the ZXR only had one major design change in 1991. The ZXR was powered by a 249cc inline 4-cylinder 4-stroke engine, making 45 brake horsepower at 15,000 rpm. Yep, you heard that right, at 15,000 rpm. And 24.5 Nm of torque at 11,500 rpm. What's even more interesting is that this engine could rev up to 20,000 rpm. That's just absurd, especially when you consider a V10 Formula 1 engine maxed out at 19,000 rpm. Number 2. Honda CBR 250RR. This is another masterpiece from Honda. Like the Kawasaki, the CBR 250RR also had a 250cc inline 4-stroke engine, making 45 brake horsepower at 15,000 rpm and 21.5 Nm of torque at 12,000 rpm. But due to some government restrictions, the power figure was dialed down to 40 brake horsepower from 1994. This 4-cylinder engine had a redline of 18,500 rpm. But despite the extremely high revving nature, the engine only required an oil change in every 10,000 kilometers. Number 3. Yamaha FZ 250. This little micro rocket is the Yamaha's contribution to the fire-breathing squad. Some even says that this motorcycle has the best exhaust note among the 4. Like the others, the FZ 250 is powered by a 250cc inline 4-stroke engine, making 45 brake horsepower at 14,500 rpm and 25 Nm of torque at 11,500 rpm. The FZ 250 has a redline of 18,500 rpm. From the factory, Yamaha claims a top speed of 190 km/h. But many riders have reported that, given a long enough straight, this motorcycle will go well beyond 200 km/h. That is kind of insane when you consider that this is just a 250cc motorcycle. Number 4. Suzuki GSXR 250. By now, you may have noticed a pattern here, that all these motorcycles have a 250cc inline-4 engine, making around 45 brake horsepower and revs well beyond 18,000 RPM. This little Suzuki here is no different. The GSXR 250 was the Suzuki's answer to the competition. Like the rest, this one also has a 250cc inline-4 engine, making 45 brake horsepower and revs well beyond 18,000 RPM.